Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video we're going to be exploring what happens when we want to actually create our menu. So in this video we're going to be adding the methods that allow us to toggle our items into the menu itself. So let's get going on that right now. So now what we need to do is we want to actually create the ability for you to take things in and out of your menu. Right now we just have these view details buttons, we have these cards for our different recipes. Now let's go ahead and add a toggle essentially to add and remove this from our weekly menu. So let's head to our code. And in the recipe.html, our recipe template here, let's just go below view details and we can add a button with several classes. Now I'm again using Emmet, so if you are using Emmet, feel free to use the shorthand, otherwise you can just type it out. Now the classes we're going to add are going to be btn-primary, because this is going to be a primary style button. Then we can say period again and add a class of toggle menu. So we can say toggle-menu, like so. Now when you hit tab, it's going to autocomplete this. We can change this to add to menu. Now I'm going to copy this line and paste it down here, and I'm going to have another button. Now this button is going to be deny. Now deny is going to be, instead of add to menu, it's also going to be remove from menu here. Okay, and we're going to maintain that toggle menu class. Because we're going to be writing essentially a click function off this toggle menu, both of these are going to be hitting the same method. It's just maybe a little bit different. Now you could do this with text and changing the class when you select it instead of having two separate buttons. But sometimes this way is nice because these buttons actually kind of have two separate functionality, even though they are performing the same action that is just going to be toggling the menu. One is going to be removing, one's going to be adding. Now you can see we have our add to menu and remove from menu buttons here. So let's go ahead and actually write that click function now. So let's head to our recipe.js in our recipes folder. Now you'll notice we don't have one, so we can go ahead and do new file, recipe.js, like so. And we can do template.recipe.events. Okay, so we're now looking for events within recipe here. So let's go ahead and add our add to menu event. So I can just simply say on a click of toggle-menu, then we're going to want to call a function here. Now to verify that this is working, we can always just sort of add a console.log and we can just say click. I like to do this sometimes just to make sure I didn't mess up anything, just anything minor. That way when you're coming back to this, you'll notice these clicks work. Oh, that way when you're coming back and maybe something's not working, you can eliminate the most easiest sort of problem, such as you just mistype something. Okay, so we now have this click function. What we need this to do is simply be toggling the value in the database that we had for in menu from false, which it is currently, to true. If you'll notice here when we do our command M at our Meteor tools, you'll notice that the later recipes that we created have, I think it must just be the last one, in menu is equal to false. So what we're going to want to do is set in menu to the opposite of false when this add to menu is clicked. So let's head to our methods and add the method to do that. So under collections and recipes, we now need to add a new allow statement because we want pretty much anybody who's logged in, we want them to be able to update a recipe. So we can say update function user ID doc, pretty much the exact same as our insert function here. Okay, so we have that update statement in, so we will now be allowed to make updates. Now let's go ahead and write the update method. we can come down. We can just come down to the bottom, and we can type Meteor.methods because we don't have any methods yet. Okay. And inside of here, we can have a new method named toggle menu item, and it can be a function. And you'll see in a second that we're going to need to pass this some things. What we can pass this is an ID and its current in menu value. What we can do is say recipes.update, and here's where we're going to be needing that information. So inside of this function here, we can say ID, and we can give this additional attribute, something like current state. That might be a little bit verbose, but it's no big deal. And in here, we can simply pass it the ID for what we're updating, comma. Now inside of an object, we can do $, set, colon, and then inside of this, the values that we're needing to change. And to do this, we can say we want the in menu value to now be the opposite of what it currently is. So the current state is false, so we can say exclamation point current state, which would then make it true. Now we need semicolon here at the end, and this is our toggle menu item recipe. You'll notice that this method accepts an ID and the current state. So we now should be able to call this method to allow it to add something to the menu. So let's head back to our recipe.js, and let's actually use that method here. So if you're familiar with these methods, by now you should be able to say meteor.call, and we can pass in the name of the method, which is toggle menu item, and that's in a string. Now we need to be passing this in our attributes here. We could say this dot underscore ID and comma this dot in menu. Now we should be good here. So let's save this, and let's head to our item that we know in fact has an on menu item, in menu item, which is our fish tacos are officially false. We can have Meteor tools open, and while we click this add to menu, you'll see the value immediately turns to true, and we have no errors in our console or anything like that. But let's see what happens on one of these other ones. So on grilled cheese, we have no value. So let's try to update something that we have no value. And you'll notice that because it didn't find that in menu, it's actually reading it as false and therefore setting the opposite of false to true, therefore adding our grilled cheese to our menu. So we don't have to come through and delete these old items here. You'll notice just like so. We don't have to delete these old items, although these ones without ingredients we might want to, or at least update them. And we can go over updating in another video. But as you can see, we now click true, or we now click add to menu and it adds it to the menu. However, we have some problems here. You can click add to menu and it sets it to false if it's already set to true. And likewise, the opposite is true with remove from menu. Both of these buttons are doing the exact same thing right now. So what we're going to want to do from a user interface perspective is sort of add show and hide these buttons based on the status here. Like if we are having a tuna that is in the menu, then we only want to show the remove from menu button, and likewise the opposite with the add to menu. So in the next video, we're going to clean this up, and we're going to be creating our recipe book. We're now able to add items to our menu, and we're going to be making our menu. Now we are able to add items to the menu now. You can remove them, but there's a lot to be desired here, and we're going to prove upon that in the next video. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the video or hit me up at Twitter or Facebook at Level Up Tutorials. If you want to help support Level Up Tutorials, head over to store.leveluptutorials.com and check out the products we have for sale over there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.